Warning: the following podcast contains violent scenes that may be unsettling to some listeners. Listener discretion is advised. There are nights when the past refuses to stay buried, when the ashes of old sins still glow faintly in the dark, waiting to be disturbed, waiting to breathe again. In the Twin Cities, those embers are stirring. What once burned bright has cooled to memory, but memory has a way of catching fire. Old alliances, forgotten debts, and ghosts of the dam all smolder beneath the surface. And those who seek to uncover them may find that some flames never truly die. Hello and welcome to Vampire the Masquerade, Twin Cities by Night Embers, the fourth story in the ongoing chronicle of Twin Cities by Night, a tale of what remains when the fire fades and what's left behind to burn.
Tad, you sit down at this bar. The inside of Cowboys Jack's, almost everything seems to be made of like this deep red stained wood. Not red as in the color red, but more of a red hue. Mahogany, yeah, very mahogany looking wood. When you step in through the door, you initially are kind of like overtaken by the brightness that's inside of here, right? There's a lot of sensory inputs that are happening here, right? You got the music that's playing. You have seen people that are sitting straight ahead about 40 feet in front of you that are sitting at these tables, these rounded tables that seem to be eating meals. You see the bar that's immediately to your left that goes for like about 30 feet, where there are these seats that look like they're made from like barrels to look decorative. You see the behind the bar, all these types of whiskeys and alcohols that are set up along with taps for different types of beer. On the right, you see that there is kind of like a mechanical bowl that's currently not being used. That's fenced off almost a little bit right now, that you know will probably be going once it gets later. You see multiple large TVs that are above the bar or in different areas that, like you said, are showing like the Twins or showing like ESPN or different games that are happening. You see that big longhorn that you were talking about that is above the back of the bar, that is above the Cowboy Jack's logo, right? That it's just huge and sticks out to you. People who are drinking at the bar will be directly looking, if not in the mirror that is along the wall, if not the different types of alcohols that are along the wall, they're looking at this huge, like you said, longhorn skull with the logo of Cowboy Jack's. Also, in the ceiling, there's this huge chandelier that is about that's between where like the bar area is and where the tables where families are currently eating. Looks it could easily be, from where you're sitting, 10 feet in diameter, if not more, that's made of like has different it has bulbs on there, but it looks like it's made of like deer horns, right? Elk horns, and it looks very rustic. But like you said, when you walk in there, you look at it, and it almost is like it's a made up rustic, right? Because you know where this is located at. This is located in the middle of downtown Minneapolis. This is where it's raining outside, where you just came from, where you saw some homeless people walking along the street, right? Where your friend shot himself in this city in the middle of the street. This isn't some make believe Wild West Louis L'Amour kind of area. This is an escape. And like you said, this is something that you've never really taken part of before. I'd almost assume that you frowned down upon those who would visit establishments like this, right? You thought it was fake. You thought they weren't sincere. Like you said before, this kind of negativity that you've had for the outside world. When you sit down, you see, looks to be maybe about in his 30s. A man comes walking up to you. He's wearing a flannel, thin flannel shirt that looks almost like to be done in the cowboy style. And he has tight blue jeans on, big belt buckle, the shirt's tucked in. He has a mustache, but when you look at his eyes and you look at his face, you realize that this man who's coming up to take your order isn't the rugged rustic type that he's forced to dress up to be. And if you were willing to bet, you would probably think that he's told to dress like this when he's being a bartender at an establishment like this. He walks up to you and you see he's holding a menu in his hand. He kind of like lays down this laminate menu in front of you and he's like, hey, that's in case if you're looking to eat. He's like, but what can I start you off with?
And at that point in time, Tad will ask for the combination of drinks that was given to him, the Jack and Coke, the Coors Light, and a bottle of water. And he would pick up the menu and because he is hungry and start looking at it and be like, and an order of mozzarella sticks.
There's a moment where you're looking at you lift up the menu and you're looking at it, right? And then
Mhm.
you look down and you say order mozzarella sticks, but you see this person's looking at you intently.
Mhm.
And you see he looks behind you for a second, like at the door, and then he looks like left to the right and he motions for you to get up and he like kind of like follow along with him along the bar. He's like, come on, now.
All right. Tad will follow.
So you're kind of walking like parallel with him along the bar while he's behind the bar. And you get to the end of the bar where like you see that there's this kind of it's a mahogany made door, but it has like the round kind of window thing so waiting staff can see when they're opening up the door so they don't bump into someone, right? And he like motions for you to go around the bar and to follow him. And he pushes the door open. He's like you can see he seems to be nervously like motion with your head, like, come on, let's go.
With that kind of action from this person that he does not know, and he can see that his hackles are a little raised, Tad will he he's socially inept, but he's not stupid. So he will kind of follow and try not to look as out of place as he is, but like, okay, yeah, this is normal. This is normal. Yeah, yeah, okay, yeah, following you. But at the same time, there is this his anxiety is kicking up, his excitement is kicking up, and his just awareness that this could all fall apart at the drop of a hat.
Would you say that he is feeling like a rush of adrenaline right now?
Oh yes. Oh yes.
And it's kind of goes along with like the route that this person is having you follow them, because as soon as you go past that door, the whole facade of cowboy, of western, of ruggedness is out the door because it's all stainless steel. As soon as you go through there and you follow him, you're walking past like a prepping center. You hear people, the dishwasher off in the distance washing dishes. You hear people cooking. You're, I ordered, and you kind of hear like this hum background noise that you weren't catching before. And this person is kind of like leading you, pressing his palm on your back to get you to like go through as he's like guiding you to be parallel with him, almost like he's trying to shield you from being seen by anyone who is working in here. You know, you're walking on this tiled floor that it can be found in any type of restaurant kitchen. And he's pushing you along as he's walking briskly. You pass this ice machine where people, you know, they get ice to bring up front. You pass this, what you imagine is a freezer where they're keeping stuff. And then you finally see like there's this metal painted brown door that has a push handle and it says exit above. You see like the exit sign and he pushes it open. And you see in the back there, you see like maybe like 10 feet ahead that there is a brick wall of like another building that's there that is kind of, and you assume that this might be like a little alleyway. And he steps out and he kind of pushes you out and he motions towards the right. And you look to the right and you see in about 10 feet, there is a sidewalk that is going perpendicular and there's a road. And you see that there's an old pickup truck that's there. It's like almost like it used to be at one time, like an agua blue, you know, single cab F-150 but at this stage of its life, the paint is chipped. It's faded probably from the elements and from the salt during the winter and sunshine, the heat during the summer, rain, whatever it may be. Looks to maybe be like 40, 50 years old. And you see that there is no one in the passenger seat, which is closest to you, but you see that there is someone looking through the passenger seat window who's at the steering wheel. And she is older than you, definitely. You know, she has gray hair that is about shoulder length that goes behind her ears straight back. She has these thick rimmed glasses and she's looking intently in your direction. Her face kind of has that puffiness that comes along with age for some people. It's almost like the reverse of life, you know, where you have baby fat and you lose baby fat when you get older, but then when you reach old age, like this waterloggedness comes back to your face, and you see that she's looking at you intently and she's motioning for you to hurry up and to get into the vehicle.
What Tad is going to do is he'll walk there. One of the things that he's looking at with this older woman is he's looking at her and he's looking at her eyes. And I'm assuming that what he's seeing is this awareness that she is there, she is intent, she is there in the moment.
Why don't you give me a perception and empathy, and we'll say difficulty 7,
Empathy.
which you don't have. So that's why it's 7. It would be 6 normally. Yep.
But I do have 3 in perception.
Yep. So you can roll the 3. Yep. Difficulty 7. Let's get our first success of the game. Oh, wow. You got
And
2
that would be
successes.
2 successes.
So when you walk up to her, you see by her mannerism, this is serious. You see that she is extremely focused right now, but she is almost speaking to you with a sternness that you picked up from your mother when you were younger. I believe you mentioned in the character creation session that your mother was very independent, right? Which you probably didn't have much time to waste on fools. So you probably picked up some of your mannerisms from the fact that when times were serious, she was able to communicate with you by a simple look that was very similar to this.
He has seen that look before. It's the we don't have time, move, let's go. Come on. There's no time to explain. Get in, we're going. And Tad would actually find that rather comfortable and almost like a compass pointing him in the direction, because he hasn't seen that in several years.
For sure.
Especially with his mother developing that early onset Alzheimer's as the light has, starting to leave his mother's eyes, but he can see this in her and he knows, all right, without question, that's the little kid in him. Without question, get in, open the door, lock the door, seatbelt on, eyes forward, hands in lap. No questions. That's what happens when you get that look.
And maybe that's why you got into the industry you got into, because everything is very binary like that, like very open shut. So Eli, going back to you, you're in this red Honda Civic being driven. This woman is driving you with, well, in your mind, you feel like she's driving with your comfort in mind, but she's not talking to you. She's quietly in her car, no radio on. The car's an automatic. She's stopping at lights. She's following the speed limit. She's turning on her blinker when she needs to turn. Is there anything that you say during this?
Probably not right away. If the drive lingers on for a while, he might speak up to say something. But as she looks comfortable to him, he feels like she's here to help him at the moment. So he's not going to press or do anything crazy. If anything, like if it goes on too long, he might try to make small talk.
The drive is actually surprisingly not that long, maybe like 4 or 5 minutes. You feel that while she's driving down the road, she starts to slow down and eventually goes along the curb in front of what looks to be a diner that's on your side of the car. If you knew who Norman Rockwell was, it would remind you of a Norman Rockwell painting. But it would be like a Norman Rockwell painting if it was filtered through like tears, the pain of tears and the pain of loss and the pain of the city's decay. It resembles an old diner from the 50s. One big picturesque glass window in front of it where you can see booths that are along it, people who are eating or drinking coffee. And on the other side, you see a counter where people can sit and they can eat. It's hard to make out who is all inside because the rain is coming down so hard. And above the picture window, there's like a little canvas overlap. So rain is currently pouring down there. So you're not able to see like anyone individually who's currently eating, but you can see the warm radiance of the light, and the shadows that are within are reflecting off the streams of water that are coming down upon it. And this woman looks at you and she says, "He's in there. He's at the last booth. You'll recognize him. He's sitting by himself. He's a white male, has brown hair that's in a ponytail." And she just looks at you like, "Get out of my fucking car," looking at you impatiently.
Eli would nod, right, in agreement. Before he would go to like kind of shuffle out and then turn to her, and he would like simply say, just, "Your name."
And there's a moment where she looks at you and then she turns back around and puts the car in the drive and drives off. And you're standing there in the rain with this unanswered question lingering in the air.
When the unanswered, like, she drives away,
Yeah.
right? He like has this like small smile about him, right? Almost as if like this seems like the right direction. Like everything before, now it seemed too easy. Now it seems like he's getting into the grit. And with that kind of smirk, he would turn around and walk into this diner.
Tad, you are in this pickup truck driving in the rain. How are you going to be during this drive?
Tad will just be, he's going to be himself. He's going to be quiet. He's going to be reserved. He will not speak unless spoken to.
The lady doesn't speak to you.
And he's not just being still. He wants to take in certain things. Like he's taking in the smell of this. Does this woman smell like, cigarettes or this? It's kind of looking at odd things like the odometer. The odometer is probably at 199,958 miles. I don't know how far you want me to go before I have to roll, but just taking in these little things.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, I have no problem explaining that for sure. What you mainly smell right now is exhaust from the vehicle. That smell from these older vehicles, right? The lady herself, she's wearing just what looks to be a normal flowered blouse that you would see a 60-year-old woman wear in this area with blue jeans. You see she's wearing kind of like they look like old white tennis shoes that could have been bought at like a Payless shoe store. The vehicle though, and give me like a perception alertness roll. Let's do difficulty 6. So you got 2 successes. You are able to pick up almost, if you were to guess, that this isn't her vehicle. She doesn't seem to fit into this vehicle in a relaxed way. What do I mean by that? Both hands are on the steering wheel. Every time she turns on the blinker, she has to remind herself where it's at. Every time that she brakes too early. Like she's trying to get a feel for the vehicle. Every time that she accelerates at a stoplight, after a stoplight turns green, it seems like she isn't used to the power that this vehicle has. But with that being said, you do pick up that she looks in the rearview mirror a lot. She looks in her side mirror a lot. You pick up the fact that you think she's going to turn right, and then at the last minute, she'll switch the blinker and turn left instead. And when you are processing all this, you eventually find yourself the vehicle being pulled aside to the curb in front of this diner that I explained before. You see in the rain, this large figure is walking towards the front of the door. Eli, you see as you walk to the entrance, you see a sign that is a neon pink sign, which is kind of unique. And it says Jody's on above the glass door to get into this diner. Tad, what are you going to do when she pulls aside the curb?
Tad will just look at her. I'm assuming this is where the ride ends.
And she nods to you.
Is there someone I'm supposed to meet here?
And she says, she seems to swallow, and she says, the last booth. you'll see the man Josh who's going to be speaking to you. And looks like there's someone else there, and she motions towards the person walking in that you're going to meet also. And you can just kind of catch out the corner of your eye in the vehicle through the rain, this large figure stepping in through the door.
Okay. Well, I guess this is it. Thank you for the ride. And he'll get out and work his way inside the diner.
Eli, we'll start with you first. You step through the door to the diner, and you see that there is your normal like diner kind of sit down, order your food by yourself. What are those called again? The stands bar. I don't want to say bar, but on the right there where you can sit there and you can see like the cooking and behind the waitress and everything like that. Then you have your booths, and there's 5 booths that are on the left. And she told you at the last booth, you'd see the person that you're looking for. And you see, as soon as you walk in and you're looking for that last booth, you see a figure sitting facing you, right? Facing the door. He's a Caucasian man. He has a beard, but it's not like the type of thick lumberjack beard. It's a beard that seems full, but if he was to trim it down, it'd be patchy. He has his hair pulled back in a ponytail. He, from where you can see, from when you're sitting, you see that he has a faded maroon t-shirt on. Looks like it's a t-shirt that like a home painter would wear. And his eyes aren't intense when they look at you. They, though, look like they have bags underneath them, like it's someone who's tired. And you see that he's looking right at you as you step through the door, and he nods to you almost like he's expecting you to acknowledge from across this area that you're the person he's looking for.
Eli would definitely, with that small little smirk, he would nod back, and he'd confidently walk his way over there, right, with a quickened pace. If the man doesn't get up or anything, Eli will take a seat next to him in the booth. Like even if he's in the middle, he will force him over to like trap him in that booth.
Such a big guy shit. As you're walking up, he stands up to like greet you. And you see he's wearing like these faded blue jeans that have white paint stains on them. And he's wearing these old construction type boots. You see on the edge of this table in this booth, he has a manila envelope, and he has a pack of Marlboro Reds and a Zippo lighter. And he motions for you when you come up to him to kind of like sit across from him so you guys can talk face to face.
Yeah, so Eli will he'll kind of look down, right, and he'll see the kind of exasperated look on this guy's face. He'll take a moment to think, right, and then he'll go and sit on the opposite side, but he won't like scooch in. He'll kind of sit on the edge. So like if this guy were to make any moves or any sort of threats or anything, he can hop right around.
And you see, like when you sit down, you expect him to sit down, but then you see him looking towards the door. And Tad, this is when you see this figure that I described. He's looking at you, and you see him kind of nod at you, and he like makes a motion with his hand to like come over. And he looks down at you, Eli, and he says, "I have one more person here who has similar interests as you. Hear me out before you come to any rash judgment, okay?"
Eli would sit in silence. When he says the second person, he'd look like with a hardened face, like, "Oh, is this another setup?"
Tad, what do you do when he motions for you to come and sit down?
So Tad is still waiting for, this is 2010, so those gotcha videos are, they're just really starting to come about. He's kind of walking forward, just waiting for the haha gotcha motherfucker moment.
Yeah.
So he's kind of like he's walking there, but he's being very alert because he's expecting to be
The rug to be pulled out from underneath him, right?
exactly. He's expecting to be made fun of or humiliated in some shape or form.
So when you come walking towards him, there's a moment where you get to the last booth and you stop for a second because you see this huge figure sitting, looking at this man with the ponytail intently. And you could sense there's like, you just weren't expecting it, I assume. And then there's a moment where this figure standing up. By the way, he's like about 5'10", maybe 170 pounds. He goes and sits down in the bench across from this large figure, and he goes scoots towards the window, towards the wall, and he motions for you to sit across from this large figure. So basically, you both are sitting kind of at the edge of the table to where if you guys wanted to leave, you could get up and leave on your own. Like he's not trapping you all in. Does that make sense?
Yes. So Tad will take a seat.
There's a moment where this guy's looking at you, and you see this figure, this lady come walking up, and she's a waitress, and she smiles, and you could tell she has some kind of knowledge of who this person is, right? This Josh person. And you see her go, "Is there anything you all would like?" And Josh is like, "Not now. Don't worry, Jody. I'll let you know when we're ready to order, okay?" And she like kind of nods and walks off. And you see there's a second where this person looks at both of you and he's like, "Listen, I'm sorry for the hoops I had you all jump through, but hopefully by the time I'm done here, it'll make sense. I know you each were expecting to be alone here, but there is a reason why you two are here together because you both have similar interests." And you can see he's like digging away on how to, he's thinking, he's rubbing his forehead with his elbow propped on the table, and he takes this manila envelope out from underneath his pack of cigarettes, and it has those like little tin whatever metal clasp that he squeezes together so he can open the envelope, and you see that there's looks like documents or pictures or something in here, and he pulls out this glossy black and white picture and he slides it over in front of you, Eli, and he points to the picture, and you see it's a black and white picture of two people. You see one is a lady who, she looks like she has dark hair. It's hard, she looks like she could be white, you don't know. She's wearing some type of like skirt and like a official pantsuit top almost. And you see that there's a man next to her, and you recognize that man immediately. And that man is the Jonathan guy that Melissa worked for. And you see Josh puts his finger on Jonathan. He looks at you, Eli, in the eye. He's like, "You know who that man is?"
There's definitely like a moment of like silent anger, right? Brewing here. He takes a kind of a deep breath and he goes, "Of course I do. What are you trying to get at here?" Eli would kind of like push himself more up against the table, lean his big torso kind of over it, right? Pushing the picture back to the middle of it, right? And look at him very, very intently.
He makes a gesture with his hand, like, "Whoa." He's like, "Listen, man, I'm here to help you, okay? But," and he points to the woman, and he looks at you, Tad. Thing is, you know who she is. And he pulls out something from this envelope, and he pushes over to you, Tad. It's a Xerox log, almost like a log that a security guard or someone would write in. And you see that there's a bunch of entries on there, right? Names, times, time in, time out, reason why, or other notes, information. And you see that there's a row that's highlighted there, and the name is Beatrice Jones. And he's like, "That," and he points to the woman in the picture. "That's who that is." And he points to the highlighted line there with the name Beatrice Jones.
Tad would grab the photo and just start looking at it intently, like looking at it, because now it's like all of a sudden there is the face to the name. There is this person, and that security log, what was the security log to?
Good question you asked, right? You look at the log, right? You don't see what the log belonged to, but you see a couple things. One, you see that the time is listed at 9:35. You see the date. The date sticks out to you because it is the day after Brian killed himself. And you see the notes. It says FBI agent needs to speak to professional about patient records.
The wheels start clicking, and it doesn't take any awareness from anybody else. He begins to like start shaking as things just click into place, because he knew about that one thing, and now it's all of a sudden in his mind things are already starting to lines are already being started to be drawn in a pattern. He's beginning to put patterns together his as he's intelligently looking at this, going, that was this. Oh my God, Brian uncovered something even, more, as wow, this goes deep.
Eli, can you give me a perception and empathy roll, please?
Fail.
Okay, nothing was noticed. So the man who showed you the pictures, Josh, as you caught his name being, points to the log, and he looks at you, Tad. And he's like, that log is from the Twin Cities mental health specialist, the mental hospital that Ryan was a patient of. Eli, none of this makes sense to you right now. I feel like I got to ask you, like, how you're reacting while he's talking like this right now. Is he gonna be patient? Because I see that your manipulation specialty is patient, right? Like, I want to know what Eli would be like while the focus isn't on him, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no. So Eli also has an eidetic memory. So in times like these, in times of where a bunch of information is being spouted, even in times of like people aren't saying anything, he's taking things in. And he's taking things in so that way he can use them or interpret them for his own goals. So even if right now there's nothing to be said, he doesn't know what's going on, he's taking into account like who these people are, and if he rolled the correct perception, right, how their reactions to them gauge. So, and then biding his time to say very short, stern sentences, right, to push people in a direction.
So he looks at you, Tad,
Yes.
and he says, here's the thing. I can't get any, or the people that I work with can't get anything to back up or to find out more about what happened when they went in there, her and this man. And he points to the picture again, a man that and he points to Eli, is familiar with. That's not where this ends. Your friend, we believe, was seeing a counselor there named Dr. Brendan Peters. And there's a moment where you see he takes out of his pocket slowly. He places it on a table, a digital MP3 player. You remember those old, like, where people could record them digitally from 2010? They replaced like the little mini tape players or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It was a Zune. It was all the rage.
Yeah, the Zune. Yeah. He takes it out and he takes this audio player out. And you see he scrolling through a couple things and he hits play. And you hear 911, what's your emergency? And you hear a voice, a female's voice, go through. And she's like, I'm at the address of, and she lists an address. There are 3 young children here who are tied up in their dining room. We think one is deceased. You should send someone here quickly to find out what's happening. And then you hear the person on the other end of the line, the 911 responder, be like, ma'am, are you currently there? And you hear the click, and the phone is hung up. And he moves the audio player from the center of the table, and he slowly takes out another printed sheet of paper. He lays the printed sheet of paper down, and it is the information. And you recognize this, Tad, from all the sites that you paid for, right? It has Dr. Brendan Peters, has this different information, and highlighted on that piece of paper is address. And it's the address that was on that 911 recorded call. And he looks at both of you, and he looks at you, Tad, and he's like, me and my friends were not able to find through our contacts any record that call was responded to. And he kind of lets that sink in for a little bit, right? And then he looks at you, Tad, and he's like, Brian was a friend, wasn't he?
He was my best friend.
Do you know what he was investigating before?
Yes.
What was that?
He was investigating reports that the children were being funneled through the foster system. And he didn't complete his story.
What did he believe they were being funneled through for? What?
His work was rather sporadic. He was in the beginnings of his investigation. He believed that this was he got a report that these children were being used for sexual manners at parties, but he never found any evidence to back up his theory.
And Tad, obviously it's an uncomfortable subject, right? When you say it like that,
Yes.
right? And you're like kind of it's hard to say out loud, right? And
It is.
you're like looking down when you're saying it, formulating your thoughts, and when you look up, you see Tad looking at Eli. Eli, what's your reaction when you hear what Tad just said?
There's definitely like surprise, like this moment, like he's taken aback, right? And it almost like puts him back to his time on the force when one, this his voice recording is whipped out, and two, him talking about this reporting, right? Because I imagine that I probably heard whispers in the winds about these kinds of things.
I mean, what did you go
If
to
not,
prison
yeah,
for?
been accused for them directly.
Yeah.
The first thought is like fear coming up. This moment of like discovering something unknown, right? And kind of at first not knowing what to do with it, but then a washing over of like, I'm here, I'm at the next step. And this confidence, kind of like the moment of fear followed by like this rush of the desire to do justice.
Tad, give me intelligence in the streetwise roll, please. Difficulty 5. And the reason I'm doing it at difficulty 5 instead of 6 is because Eli's infamy about his background that we discussed. Holy shit. And 2 10s. And what's your intelligence? Problem solver?
Problem solving.
Yeah, reroll the 10s, I'll say. Yeah, because I'm going to say, like, this is all, you know what I mean? Like, clicking. I'll explain why once you reroll the 10s.
And that washes out.
Okay, cool. Yeah, it's yeah, okay, so 2 successes. So when this is all being said, you say it out loud, right, Tad? And you look up and you see that this guy's looking at the big person in front of you. You don't even know his name. You look at the big person for a second and you're taking this all in and your brain is going all over because you kind of almost like you said, a switch has been turned on in your head, right? And you recognize this person in front of you. And you're like, wait a second, like 2 years ago, I read about you in the news, right? You were the one who vehemently denied being part of that police ring that were trafficking the children and all that stuff. And there's a set, and then you go back to the beginning of the conversation, and you remember just what this Josh figure told you, where he's like, "You're both involved in this." You know what I mean, right? This is going to help both of you out, and it just kind of clicks there for a moment. And Josh looks at you, Eli. He's like, I think this is an opportunity for you to find out more, also to clear your name and to find out about your sister who's missing. And Tad, you're like, sister missing? You know what I mean? Like, that is another layer on top of
Sister
this.
missing.
Yeah. And he's looking at you, Eli.
What do you get out of this, man? Why are you here? Why have you brought us here?
And there's a moment you see, like, oh man, I got to be able to explain this. You see a moment when you say this, right? And you see his eyes like look down and close and open again. And you see like this sadness like overcome him. Not like he starts crying, right? Or that he is overwrought with emotion, but it's almost like this sense of dread that like, man, like you asking that question is making him feel like you can see like it's almost like this inner guilt. And he looks up at you and he looks at you, Eli, and he looks at you, Tad, and he's like, have any of you heard of FLIR cameras? And before I have you guys answer, look at your character sheets here. 1 in intelligence, I don't think it's going to know this, and you don't have any computers, but I will definitely have you, Tad, roll me an intelligence and computers. Let's do difficulty 6. I'm sorry for all these dice rolls, but I just want to be more impactful. If you like,
Just to let you know, I do have computer aptitude, so all my rolls are reduced by all difficulties are reduced by 2. So a difficulty of 6 would be a difficulty of 4.
All right, go for it. Yeah.
That would be 2 successes.
Yep, 2 successes. Okay. You take a moment to think real quick when he says that, and you realize, yeah, these are those high-end infrared thermal cameras that started initially. You kind of remember reading an article in Popular Science or Popular Mechanics about them, where they were first used, you know, especially with the surge recently happening in the GWAT, and now that local police forces are spending like massive amounts of money on them, right? You know that they're pretty much like thermal cameras, thermal heat signature cameras.
Could I say that because Tad does have 3 dots in security.
Yeah.
That he is very well familiar with them.
We'll give you that you're very familiar with them because you're 3
Yeah.
dots in security, and you being, I'm not sounding mean, but like a nerd.
Is hitting the nail on the head. He
Yeah.
is a tech. He
Tech
is
nerd.
a tech nerd.
Yeah. So you're like, man, it'd be nice to see one. You know, not saying you would say that now, but yeah, definitely the Tribune wouldn't own them. But yeah, you definitely know what they are. We'll say that for sure with the utmost confidence. Yeah.
Yo, I'm very familiar with FLIR. It's, it's a combination of, night vision and thermal technology. Why are you, what does this have to do with what you've presented us?
And you see he pulls out another picture out of this envelope, and he slides it, and you see like the shape of like 4 people maybe, and you see that there's like heat signatures on there, right? And he's like, this is how it works. Okay. And he's looking at you, Eli, to see if you're following, right? And he's like, what? He's like looking at you, like nodding, like, this is how it works. We agree, right? And then you see he pulls out another one and he sets it down. And you look at it and you see that there looks like there are like 3 figures here. One definitely has a heat signature, and the 2 other silhouettes don't, but there's outlines of them. And he looks at you, Eli, and he points and he's like, that's your sister, the one with the heat signature. Those are the 2 people that you're looking for.
Hey, thanks for listening. Producing this podcast takes time, energy, and real costs, from hosting fees to editing and artwork. If you enjoy what we do and want to help us keep creating, consider supporting us on Patreon. Even a small pledge makes a big difference in covering expenses and letting us focus on bringing you more stories, more episodes, and better quality. You can find the link in the show notes. We'd love to have you as part of our community. Also, feel free to join our Discord, which is also listed in the show notes.